All right, right now I want to talk about exposure and how I decide what settings I want to use for different situations. Right now it's a little bit after 7 o'clock in the evening. This is a typical starting time for high school football games, and it's a typical situation. If you can see in the background on both sides of me, I've got a lot of light back in the background, but I'm standing in the shadow of the stadium. So in this situation, I'll put the camera in Aperture Priority mode, and I'll set it to, right now there's plenty of light, so I'll set it to probably f4. I know I've got a 2.8 lens, but if I've got plenty of light, I'll usually set it on f4 to give myself a little bit of depth of field to work with, and I really don't need f2.8 in this kind of situation. Again, these are personal preferences. There aren't many right or wrongs in doing this. There are some absolutes. You got to have the proper exposure. So there's a lot of different ways to get there in these kind of situations. Now, if we were under the lights and had nothing but the stadium lights to work with, then I'm going to switch to manual mode, because once those lights are up and the sun is down, the lighting is consistent. It's not going to change depending on where I'm shooting on the field. So I'll set it in manual mode. That's where I'm at f2.8. I bump up my exposure as high as I can go to get me the kind of shutter speeds I need for action. Typically, if I'm shooting youth or high school sports, I can get away with down to about 1/400th of a second. If I'm shooting major college sports or NFL, usually I'm going to get it over 500th of a second shutter speed, and I'm going to do whatever I can with my ISO to get me to those settings. So I'm going to show you some examples in a little bit and talk about those examples and the different exposure. But I just want you to see how a stadium like this, even though we've got some nice light, this is really a great time of the day for lighting. We've got part of the field that's sunlit, we've got part of it that's in shadow, and if you look way down there where the guys were warming up, they're back in the light again. So that's why I use Aperture Priority mode, so I don't have to worry about changing the settings on the fly in the middle of a play.